Good morning, Cyril. Good morning, Rick. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Russell.
Sorry, I'm a little late. How's everybody's morning going?
It's going.
So you got the Florida fan going.
I do have the Florida fan going. I have the windows open. It is 80 degrees here. But this is the last time you're still on mute, so.
Cyril, are you with us? Or are you without us?
You're still on mute.
Did you hear that Bruce Willis has been diagnosed with aphasia?
I saw that. Can you guys hear?
Yes.
Now we can hear you.
Okay, all right, I saw it. Yeah, that's very sad.
Wait, is that real or is that just a continuation of the Will Smith, Chris Rock joke?
I don't think Bruce Willis has anything to do with Chris Rock or Will Smith.
Sure, but did he announce, what I'm asking is, did he announce this or did like Stephen Colbert mention it as part of his monologue?
It's been all over the news. There was like a Mount Sinai aphasia therapist on TV. It's treatable. Aphasia is more of a symptom than a disease. It's the, it's caused by a bunch of other stuff.
So you're saying that Jada Pinkett Smith is choosing to need to not wait. Does aphasia make your hair fall out, or does it do some other thing that
That's alopecia. Alopecia.
Ah, okay. This is why I'm confused. Why we're getting to. So what is aphasia?
It's primarily difficulty producing language, but sometimes also understanding it.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's intense. It's things you get with with sometimes with some drugs.
From what did you say, Cyril?
Some drugs sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't produce the words, or if you have some kind of brain injury, things like this. It's pretty bad. If you don't know the cause, it could be anything.
Right.
Yeah, I had no idea about alopecia being a disability before.
What did you think it was before?
Skin condition.
Just a skin condition.
How is alopecia a disability? It's just,
I don't know, but that's all over Twitter. It's people being ableist and all this kind of stuff. I don't know. Maybe this is not the right forum for this. For continuation of the Chris Rock, Will Smith bullshit.
Hey, there's a question. Would it have been treated differently if it was Bruce Willis that smacked him?
Yeah.
I heard on the news yesterday that the Academy had asked Will Smith to leave, and he refused. So he,
Like to leave the theater?
yeah, basically, he was like, nope.
Wow.
They didn't do anything.
Well, sure. Yeah. I mean, what an awkward moment.
Imagine if
Sure.
he was asked to leave, and then he gets awarded the Oscar, and then he's like outside smoking a cigarette, and they're like, sorry, you can't be here with us.
You know, we live in some ways in unprecedented times.
Yep. So you guys have done some really good job on the white paper. I'm loving what I'm seeing. It's really taking shape.
Thank you. Does anyone know how to change the settings in Discord for which browser it opens if you click a link in one of the channels?
Not sure.
No. I'm sorry, that wasn't as like, hey, we did great with the white paper. We really know how we're like selecting our defaults. Going great.
Yeah, what about defaulting? What if some DAO like defaults on its duties towards its members?
What does default mean in this usage? Because I don't think we don't have like a, since there isn't like a regulator that's going to roll in and be like, you're no longer a DeFi pool. That it, to my mind, it means that it's just a extreme, what you're describing, or the closest thing I can imagine to what you're describing, is just in the extreme end of the like risk profiling we're already doing. That, you know, if we note that through, say, the DAO Health Index, that some how do I put this? Some shady stuff has happened within that DAO, like say what happened with Wonderland, then like obviously that like feeds into our determination of whether we should continue being there. But if by default you mean like taking them to court or some kind of like regulatory process to recover funds that we claim were not merely like should no longer be in this protocol, but we're like what they're under false pretenses, I guess, and that we want them to have some responsibility to that. I don't think there's a way to make that claim.
I think there is. I think that, you know, having contracts and agreements and white papers is actually like part of the whole deal. So, you know, if I don't know, legislation in the age of DeFi is weird. You know, what jurisdiction is it? If, you know, can we control
Sure.
it from the island of Barbados and therefore have it be subject to the rules of the laws of Barbados, even though we're here in the United States?
Well, some of these projects aren't even doxed, so you don't know who that might not be the legal entity in Barbados even is.
Because yeah, those are not legal entities, right?
In Wyoming they are, but I don't think anyone's actually I don't know if incorporated is even the right word, created a DAO through the Wyoming DAO law.
Mm-hmm.
And some lawyers, I was listening to a panel in ETH Denver, were saying, yeah, I would not advise any of my clients to like if they were looking for like a legal entity in the United States to do the Wyoming DAO law, because it doesn't provide any additional liability protection over a general partnership, which is to say no liability protection. Your personal assets are the assets of the organization. And so they would continue to recommend that For internal purposes, sure, organize yourself as a DAO, have that be the structure instead of what, I don't know, Harvard Business School would tell you to do. But for like legal purposes to relate to the United States government, be an LLC like everybody else.
Why an LLC as opposed to like a C Corp?
I think I'm pretty sure it's something to do with the reporting requirements being lighter and it being somewhat more flexible. Like I'm not as clear on the details as I was at the end of her talk, but I think that there's more flexibility on the appointment of officers. Like the big one that's of interest here is that it may be possible to appoint a committee to be a particular officer rather than an individual. And that gets you a couple of steps in the direction of a DAO.
Mhm.
And I think it might also just be like cheaper and faster and easier to create an LLC than a C Corp.
You should always also remember that lawyers are always wrong. There's always another lawyer who has another opinion. And, you know, if you domicile your thing in Barbados, then, you know, whatever the lawyer said about Wyoming is probably nonsense.
Sure. At no point was she claiming to be giving international advice, merely if you were planning to be some entity in the United States.
Understood. But in terms of so this whole idea of, you know, the vending machine analogy of a DAO, that kind of does not extend to the legalities of an entity.
When you say vending machine quality,
like this idea of the smart contracts are directing the you know, the executive decisions.
Directing the executive decisions. I think I want to tease that apart. I think that's what I was getting at in the distinction between for internal organizational purposes versus for external legal purposes. That yes, it is certainly the case that you'll write a smart contract that says that if I receive a request from, you know, this validated either accept list of addresses or tokens are locked in this particular wallet as evidence of interest in doing some action, then yes, that will be the triggering event for some smart contract to execute and go take, you know, whatever action that is. But that's purely an internal matter. That's just a way of sorting the, you know, the how do I put it? I'm going to say participants because it's the broadest and least like legally specific term I can think of. The participants of the DAO to say we want to do X. But if that X that they want to do is tell the United States government that they're responding to a tax liability or a reporting obligation or similar, then that's not merely at the discretion of the DAO. That's, you're like stuck with the like categories that the United States government supports. And so the Wyoming DAO law just doesn't assign very many like protections to that organizational form that would make it appropriate for the risks that are being taken on.
Interesting.
Let me see what it does add. Because there's also this thing, Russell, do you remember, I forget what the category is, if it's the number of officers or the number of directors that are like that there's a limit and it's different for S Corps or C Corps?
It's pretty flexible. I don't think there's a limit.
Yeah, I thought it was like 2,000 was the like. Oh, shareholders. Yeah, okay. Yeah, C Corp, there's no limit on the number of shareholders. Anyone can own shares.
But I mean, Amazon is an LLC as well. You know, they're publicly traded, so you can have a publicly traded LLC with as many shareholders as there are shares.
Hmm.
Ah. Okay, here we go. So you may prefer an LLC as opposed to an S Corp. If you want a high degree of management flexibility in running your company, want to allocate profits and losses based upon criteria other than ownership percentage, prefer to avoid the state mandated requirements imposed on corporations such as annual meetings, don't foresee raising capital by selling ownership stakes to many investors or by going public, feel pass-through taxation is important. And S Corp, the big one would be if you wanted to be a C Corp later. And also if you want to earn a salary instead of self-employment income, that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, so I think that maybe is the other part is that they're assuming that if you go the DAO route, then clearly you're like never raising equity, much less have any interest in going public. So all the like limitations of an LLC in that area are irrelevant to you.
So if I remember from my notes from last year, the advantage of doing a C Corp is that it's easier for acquisitions. Like the end goal is an acquisition. And then easier to divide profits from that. But I guess a DAO is supposed to be, the idea is that you want to keep going and keep growing and keep building.
We have seen examples of DAOs merging, and now I'm a little bit unclear what the legal meaning of the two DAOs merging was. Because I'm sure like for their own purposes, they can settle on, oh, well, we're gonna convert one of our tokens into some set amount of the other protocol's tokens, or we're going to leave the two tokens separate, but we're going to make, I suppose they're already tradable. So we're just talking about some like joining some operational or like management activities. But I haven't heard one say, yeah, we were an LLC and we acquired another LLC or merged with another LLC. Let me look that up. Can an LLC merge with an LLC? Okay, yeah, you can definitely merge two LLCs. Oh, the DAO guys will like this. Well, it seems like there's a couple of ways to do it. This one, Together, they form a holding company where the owner LLC is the master entity and the subsidiary LLCs are referred to, this is what the DAO kids are like, as LLC cells, which I've never heard before.
LLC cells?
Cells, yeah. Okay, and it's already the case you can have an LLC that has fractional ownership of another LLC. That's interesting. But an LLC can't own a piece of an S corp. Great. I'm glad we cleared that up.
I don't believe that.
Okay.
So what about SolidX? Do we think SolidX is still good? Do you remember
Yeah,
SolidX?
I do.
Have you tried using that Zap feature?
I've not yet used that. Zap. Right, yeah. Yeah, I haven't done it yet. You may be aware that I'm in the middle of moving.
Yeah, what's the next steps? What's going on there?
We're moving out of here tomorrow and tomorrow evening. We're like in boxes and things are like strewn all about the house. And then we're gonna stay at my folks for Friday night and Saturday night, and then Sunday we fly to San Francisco. And then we've got a little townhouse in the Mission set up for a sublet through I guess the end of May. Yeah.
Are you?
Oh, that weekend I was mentioning. Please repeat.
Are you moving to San Francisco?
We haven't decided yet. We're definitely moving to the West Coast. Seb was trying to figure out like which of LA, San Francisco, or Seattle is best for because she actually wants to be able to like go into an office for her next job. And so she's trying to figure out which of those three cities would be best for where she would likely be working. Opinionated on the being able to go into the office part because it's not a goal of mine. But I sure like San Francisco, and I'd be sure be happy if it turned out that worked for her.
Yeah, I've never been.
So I realize I will certainly, I mean, unless we like, grow this thing to like 9 figures or something and just become like,
9 figures.
Jet setting, fancy boys, then I'll never buy a house in San Francisco.
Yeah.
But interestingly, the price of rent, not that much higher in San Francisco than in certainly a part of LA that like you or I would live in. It's really just the purchase price. It's like supposedly the smartest people in the world working for all these big tech companies like got touched in the head or like, I have to buy a house instead of, putting that money in a diversified portfolio. So we have this.
Well, no, but the house prices is a whole thing. Apparently now lots of Wall Street are buying in bulk. They're just buying in bulk, inflating the prices.
Yeah.
Like there's a bunch of reasons why house prices is not affordable anymore.
Yeah, no, you're totally right that I forget what percentage of it is being bought by REITs and not by individual humans. I don't know the numbers for San Francisco versus nationally, but it would stand to reason that would be an attractive market for, well, actually it might not be an attractive market for investors because of the high per unit price, that it means that you're less liquid. Like if you're an investment group, you would rather have two houses worth $500,000 each than one house worth $1 million, because now you've got a worse risk profile if, say, you can't rent it out, or it's it's a binary event if your renter leaves. Whereas if you've got the two, then you're diversified a little better.
One interesting thing that happened in California that you may have heard about is the change in the zoning laws, so that two-family houses, or like basically two kitchens, is the difference, are now legal in general. So in Boston, like a triple decker, a three-family house is sort of the typical house, and in California for forever it's been single-family houses.
So you cut out because my I forgot that the place that I charge my my wireless earbuds and my phone is the same thing, and I had not actually plugged in my my wireless earbud charger. So you were saying something about something I would have heard about in California?
Yeah, the zoning laws for single and multiple family houses changed in most of California somewhat recently, which means basically people can house two families in one house more legally, or divide houses into duplexes legally, instead of having the typical California house, which is just a single family house and a pool and a yard, and just sort of wasteful of space.
Yeah, people sure don't like density in parts of California.
So do we want to explore some kind of technology stack that would allow us to use Plaid DAO to invest in pools, kind of like SolidX or others?
So how would you suggest to try that?
I mean, I think SolidX has a GitHub, so one could fork SolidX. There are other distributed asset management systems as well. They all have funny names. I don't have all the names in front of me, but there are a bunch of them.
Okay.
I mean, would that be the next step on our technology development, is to provide an asset management system in addition to a Dune analytics platform?
Tell me again what the differentiator for us to build that is.
I mean, if Plaid DAO is to manage assets, then it needs to have a technology that allows it to invest and divest from other DAOs and other projects.
But there are already tools for that.
Exactly. So, I mean, isn't the goal of Plaid DAO to manage assets, basically?
Yeah.
So then,
well, be careful about that. It is certainly the goal of Plaid DAO to. Actually, this is something I've been thinking a lot about from a liability and like structure perspective, which is we certainly want to create standard metrics for assessing the like the viability and the like the risk profile of a potential asset. And we definitely want to like organize some like group method for staking tokens into those protocols. But I'm not sure we are crossing a line into management, because then we might either our own, if we ever created our own token, then that might be a security, and then we would need to register that. Or we might be acting as a broker if even if we don't create our own token, but we are like directly telling others to invest in a particular token, or even like probably more liability, they're entrusting us with their tokens, which we then invest, even if it's algorithmic.
What about even if that group decision making, we're not telling anybody, we're making a group decision to invest in shit.
That's what I'm saying, that we have to ensure that the decision making is sufficiently decentralized and opt-in, such that the individuals that are like that are operating their tokens through our platform can be said to have like made an affirmative decision on their own, not like guided by us, merely supported with evidence and analytics and tooling that we may provide.
So what's the difference between, so it's a question of so now that becomes the difference between building a hedge fund and building a hedge group or whatever.
Or investment club is the kind of baby term that was never intended for this purpose, that people are kind of abusing, which is that up to 100 people can get together and share information about investments that they may wish to participate in. But they have almost no like IRS reporting or tax requirements or SEC requirements, so long as it continues to be the case that each individual member of the investment club independently made all of their own investment decisions. They were just information sharing with the other members of the investment club.
But that's not the case if we're voting. And I guess because of the voting, that means that every single decision is
well
individual.
I think voting could get you into a situation where you've crossed the line and you're now a broker or investment manager, and I think we should be very careful about where that line is.
So what's the difference? It just means we need to pay slightly more tax, or is that real territory that we might get arrested? Or
I don't know we'd ever be arrested. We certainly at the far end could be banned from ever working in financial services. Basically, if you're like working as an unregistered investment broker.
No, but if we register, what's the difference in why would we not want to be registered?
Because it's an onerous process that takes away like time and resources that we like don't currently have, and because I think one of us might have to like pass an exam in order to be able to be a registered broker. What was it, Russell? Your Series 7? Is that what you need? Do you know what I'm talking about?
There are a couple of tests.
There are a couple of them, but that's a big one, Cyril, is that we run the risk that one or more of us are going to need to sit for an exam.
Okay.
And I don't know if it changes. I think it would also change our reporting requirements, and might place restrictions on fund structure. But indeed, this is one of the questions I've been pressing on, that we can't kind of like muddle along in this like amorphous middle zone. Like I strongly prefer that we like make an affirmative hard choice to either just be a hedge fund that happens to invest in a lot of crypto, but in all other respects is like legally and organizationally like conforming to all requirements for a hedge fund and or a broker. Or we say, no, actually, everyone is independently making their own decisions. We're merely a like a technology and information sharing platform organized as a DAO internally, and we have like put controls in place to ensure that none of us could be understood as a broker or investment manager on behalf of anyone else.
So I guess the way to do that would be to have that each participant does choose to be, and the things that we vote on are like, okay, this mutual fund type of thing, we all voted on this, and you can decide to put your money there or not. We're not going to touch it for you.
There it is. Yeah, the thing we can vote on is, remember how we were talking about the low, medium, high risk profiles?
Mm-hmm.
We can vote on modifications to information that we consider for the risk profiles, or how we weight that information. We can vote. We can vote on whether we will expand the number of protocols that we're considering for the whole universe, or if we choose to do it algorithmically, the minimum standards that we apply for any protocol to be available to be selected for one of those risk pools. But you got it, that final step, did I put my tokens into one of the risk pools? That has to be the affirmative decision of each member.
Okay, that makes sense.
Participant. I'm gonna stick to participant because even member seems to like wander into legally fraught territory.
Okay, that makes sense.
So SolidX IPO'd or ICO'd at like $26, $27 and peaked at $32 in just February this year, and now it's $4. So SolidX only ICO'd in like a month ago.
Yeah.
Somehow,
that's right.
I don't know how they, floated their stock at $27.
Which are you using to get that number? Because I'm on CoinMarketCap and it's giving me different numbers.
I'm on CoinMarketCap.
Yeah, so they launched at 23.9, and then yeah, you're right. By a few days later, they were at over 30, and they've been bumping along between like, well, I guess now they're down to $2.40. But more to the point, if you've read some of the SolidX, or at least user sends, save and exits. Man, these dark patterns trying to convince you to accept cookies. It's really tedious. Or excuse me, these adversarial patterns trying to get you to accept cookies. That if you look at some of the, at least this was in the docs for Solidly, and I understand SolidX is just a way of simplifying being in the staking pool for Solidly. So I'm not aware of something that should distinguish these two for this purpose anyways, is that they're intentionally not trying to, the way that I guess in old world we call it dividends or rebase, not rebases, is it mirrors? But basically how the spread that traders on the Solidly exchange are paying, how that gets distributed is oriented towards paying out fees to token holders rather than oriented towards juicing the coin price by depositing that money in a treasury wallet that then does whatever it does to back the coin price. So it's not it's not particularly surprising to me that the price of their token has fallen substantially. Because nobody's trying to protect it.
But I mean, in our metric system, would we say, based on these two informations, ICO at 30 or 27, and now it's $3, that's a red flag or a green flag?
I mean, if we were looking just at price movement, like sure, that would be a red flag. But I think this is why it's important to, how do I put this? Actually, this is, Cyril, I see you holding a pen. This is something that we should explore more systematically, which is, since you're effectively being paid out whatever I'm going to call it, I'm probably like wandering into legally fraught territory by saying this, but you're paying out like the crypto or DeFi equivalent of a dividend by holding the SolidX token, that it means that the main return to you is not that you bought the token at this price and now the token is at this higher price, but you bought the token, and as a result of holding it, you have a proportional claim on a flow of dividend payments. And so we need some method. Maybe Russell, you're familiar with one for including the value of actual dividend payments on equity holdings to compare two equities, one where there's greater possibility of upside price movement and the other where there's lower possibility, but there's a larger opportunity for dividend payments.
Yeah, I don't know if you are familiar with this, but my recollection of the stock market is that if you are collecting dividends, then on the X dividend date, then the stock price adjusts accordingly to the dividend. So you are awarded the dividend and the stock drops the amount that you're awarded the dividend, in case you've ever seen these funny discontinuities in the stock prices.
When you say the price moves, is that to say the dividend is just treated as overhead for the company and is subtracted from their net profits, or like something like that? Because it wouldn't be directly subtracted from the stock price. It would be subtracted from some operating metric that is like used for pricing the stock, or that some analysts
maybe it's
use.
the earnings date, but yeah, there's a
right. So I'm saying that your earnings numbers would come in worse as a result of the dividend payout, just as if you had suddenly had to make several large equity grants to key managers or something.
Yeah. I apologize. It's been a couple of years, but anyway, there sometimes people
there's some way of accounting for this.
Yeah.
Then to answer your question, Cyril, I think actually that's something that we should consider for our set of metrics. Is okay, there's one that has some kind of fee payout, and another where it's all rolled into the treasury wallets and used to goose the token price. How do we systematically compare the expected value over some future time period of both things happening in a holistic way, not just like, will we have a metric for will the price move, and another for will there be fees paid out?
Okay. And the thing about the pen, did I miss something there?
The thing about the pen? What's the pen?
I was holding a pen.
Oh, I was just noting that you were ready to do some writing. I wasn't sure if you were taking notes pen and paper, or if you were typing them into some note-taking app or other.
Yeah. No, I'm taking notes in a Word document, and I was just fidgeting with a pen that happened to be on my desk.
Perfect.
So I was right, in case anybody cares, but yeah, after a dividend is paid, the stock price drops by the same amount that the dividend is. paid, just FYI.
Stock price drops by the amount that the dividend was paid.
It's kind of weird.
I still don't understand what by the amount the dividend was paid means in this usage. Okay, core.
In a nutshell, stock prices fall after dividend is paid because the company is utilizing part of its revenues and cash balance to pay out the dividends, and also dividend distribution tax has to be paid with it. As a result, the company's cash and accumulated profits shrink to the extent of dividend outflow. That's just what you're.
Yes, that's what makes sense to me, is that it just means that profits shrank, and therefore like whatever analysts say that means for the stock price happens, but that it's a little more indirect than drops by the amount that the dividend.
It's still essentially true though.
Sure.
Okay, so the dudes on Discord who I invited, who offered their services via Dune Analytics, have been very non-responsive. They're just kind of randos on Discord. If anybody else wants to try reaching out to Dune Analytics people, please do so. I sent them, the Zoom calendar invite and everything, and they seem
uninterested.
Yeah, I guess uninterested would be one way to look at it.
Okay. So, all right. So I guess we got 10 minutes left on this call. What's our next actionable steps? You guys have done a fantastic work on building up the white paper. Still needs, of course, a lot of edits. Now that I think we've got a slightly better idea of what we're doing, I feel things are probably going to get smoother, but also more complicated as we iron out these metrics and find ways of validating them. Any thoughts? Last week we were talking about possibly reaching out using communication. I guess that's taking a bit of a step back this week, as we define ourselves a little bit more.
We could also do something like just harvest our own email lists and make an email spam bot that just contacts everybody we know about Plaid DAO, and whether it identifies us as the originator of that or not is up to us.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. It broke out for a second.
We could do a MailChimp or some other email blaster system to email people our white paper and our Discord. I think that the contacts are not really super interested in this market. I think it would be, new crypto people who are like 15 years old or something.
Right. So what happened to what was your co-founder from Aptivid's name? Danny
Roth.
Yeah. What happened to his boy that worked on that NFT platform?
Not really sure.
Not really sure. Okay. Well, in any event, I'm totally with you that it's going to be mainly new money that's going to get interested in this. But we might have more success finding them in Discord servers and Telegram groups than in like emailing everyone we know.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think we should try the strategic spam route, or just pumping up.
Can I be super meta for a moment?
Please.
I think the first step, since we've identified that, as I understand it, we've got 3 general areas to make progress in. One, like the definition of the strategy that we're proposing to take and the structure of the entity that would move that strategy forward.
Another is identifying the technology stack that both allows us to do everything from execute the individual trades to manage the treasury, to identify the metrics of interest, to like coordinate the group doing it. And that third thing called like community management and development, which is like how to get our message in front of other people and get versions of that message that are appropriate for different mediums. That the first thing to do is just to like write in like an overall structure doc of these are the areas of progress that we want to move forward on. That we want to do these additional edits to the white paper. We want to start on, I probably should start on a product requirements doc. We should go recruit a couple of Solidity devs. We should, settle on one of these asset management tools. We should either find someone or ourselves write a couple of memes about our DAO. We should identify Telegram channels. Something that like gives some rhyme and reason, so that we can say these are the areas we're moving forward on. These are the stages we imagine it goes through. This is how we'll know we're making progress against that plan.
Okay, so let me make a structural document. Do we want to keep going on Airtable and like move?
Yeah, Airtable's good. Yeah.
So
let's just build out the Airtable.
Okay, so we have these three. I completely agree with these three general area. The strategy and structure of the entity, the identifying the technology stack that's going to help us move forward, and community management. Yep. So if we just divide and just fill in each of those, just to fill a bunch of stuff that needs to, things that need to be done in all those categories. And I guess, as we start filling these with to-do actions, we're going to get a better idea of where we want to be.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, let me take responsibility for getting this moving and see if I can get that done in a couple of days. And you guys can fill it up and keep going with the white paper as we go along.
Great.
I just keep thinking that for number one, the two options are either spend a lot of time and money on a lawyer, or kind of go the crypto route and just say, who cares? There are 1,000 other projects that are hugely fraudulent and
that are definitely unregistered securities, if not like outright Ponzi schemes.
Yeah. So I don't. It's just like both options are not very good.
Yeah, which pile of shit do you want to dig through? I mean, my assumption, since we're looking for, because in part, this has been to my mind, this question should start from who is our core early adopter? And since Russell, earlier you said, hey, like people who might be interested in like backing maybe you didn't add the qualifier, interested in backing a hedge fund, but in any event, like say the sort of people that you've known who invest in things would not be interested in this, then that indicates to me that the value of going the hedge fund route is not worth the hassle, because the people who would be the appropriate investors into that are not particularly interested in this strategy in this asset class. And so
I think they would be if they like control. I think they don't want to be, since it's their capital, they don't want, some dudes on that voting about how they allocate their capital. I think that's really the
but nobody's voting about how they allocate their capital.
Yeah.
We're merely voting what the available options are. Then they choose if they want to be in one of those options, several of those options, or none of those options. At all moments, they control which, if any, of the pools they're present in.
Yeah.
We could talk about actually something to note. We could talk about whether we want to, something that some groups do to fight this kind of hot money problem. Because if you go the DeFi route, this is why for all these new tokens, you see a spike right at the beginning and then it floods out and it collapses. That there are people who effectively specialize in getting in early, say at the accept list level, like even before there's in the pre-sale, before the token's even launched, and then get the pop from just the token being launched, and then immediately sell out and rinse and repeat. And so to avoid that, many groups will incentivize agreeing to some lockup period that will give you X additional percentage of either the native token, or will give you a out of proportion cut of the returns if you agree to. Often they use something called bonding. If you agree to lock up your tokens for some number of days, weeks, or months.
Yeah, I think that trend was a little bit hotter a couple of years ago. I'm not seeing as much of those pre-sales really.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in part, if you look at where Solidex, what the exchanges that Solidex is on, they're things that never existed a couple of years ago. It's pretty weird. So they're on Mex, Spooky Swap, Hotbit, and Juby, right? So Solidex IPO'd at $27 on, right now they're on 3 exchanges, and it's they don't have to petition Coinbase. It doesn't matter anymore.
Well, they're in a different part of the market.
Yeah.
Because somebody's still got to be able to get from their salary to Ethereum before they get from Ethereum to Solidex.
Yeah.
Or somewhere they have to.
Okay, Cyril, I think that your plan sounds really good to me. I think there are some caveats, structure of Plaid DAO LLC versus Barbados versus Cayman versus Wyoming, Montana, whatever. I don't know. It kind of just seems like a waste of time to me. Might as well just do it and dot your T's and cross your I's when the time comes. It just doesn't seem to matter all that much in crypto.
Okay.
And for the technology stack, yeah, I think there are some GitHubs we can probably fork that do basically what we're talking about. They depend on Avalanche and Solana and Solidity and all this kind of stuff. And security is a big aspect to it. So security audits is huge in this area. And then maybe we get a part-time community manager on Upwork or something to do the community management and development. Some of my ideas anyway. So we'll see each other soon.
Okay.
Cool, guys.
Have a nice weekend.
Last thing to remind you, we won't be able to do the currently scheduled time on Monday because I'll be in San Francisco. So if we could do, I don't know how your afternoons look.
Oh yeah, because for you 10 a.m. now becomes whatever, 6 a.m.
7
or
a.m.
7 a.m.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah, so that's not a thing I will be doing.
Okay, so I guess we'll have to shift as of next week.
Yeah, so let me check my calendar real fast, at least for Monday.
Okay, me too.
And okay, so
looks like you suggested 2 to 3. That sounds good.
yes, yeah. Is that 2 to 3 your time?
That's what it looks like, yeah.
Okay. Yes, it is 2 to 3 your time. Okay, great. Let's do that.
Okay, let's move it to 2 to 3. Who's got control over that?
I think I just updated it. The other one, Greg, maybe you can both suggest other times, but I think 2 to 3 actually on Thursday would also work for me anyway. I'd say
probably
12 to 1.
Yeah, 2 to 3 on Thursdays doesn't work for me.
Thursdays are harder. I'm all jammed up. Could you do, was that 4 to 5?
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, okay. Well, wait, no, it would be 1 to 2 your time, 10 to 11 my time.
No, I'm actually booked from 1 to 2.
Okay. Could you do 5 to 6 your time?
I prefer 4 to 5. Is that out?
Sorry, I have a standing work meeting from 4 to 5.
Okay, I'll put
We
it.
could also just move off of Thursdays and start doing it Wednesdays or Fridays. For some reason, Thursdays have become like a jammed up day for the day job.
I could probably do 2 to 3 on Friday.
Next week I'm busy Friday from 2 to 3. But I'll just move it to 5 to 6 on Thursday for now, but
We'll try to not do that going forward.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Great chat, guys. See you later.
You're welcome.